So for all of these diseases, there is a plethora of options on the table that docs have at their disposal to manage these two forms of lymphoma. And increasingly, more and more of those management options are actually not chemotherapy. They're precision target or immunomodulatory drugs. The one class of drugs that has been approved across the board in follicular lymphoma, but not in marginal zone lymphoma, are the PI3 kinase inhibitors. Many lymphoid malignancies, and in fact, across all of cancer biology, probably the singular most dysregulated pathway driving growth and survival of these cells is dysregulation of the PI3 kinase pathway in one form or another. And so there's a very strong rationale to think about how one might leverage these drugs to target that biology specifically. And so there are three different PI3 kinase inhibitors that have been approved in follicular lymphoma and some approved for CLL. And this class of drugs can have significant activity in these settings, though they carry with them the legacy that many of them have untoward toxicities that usually revolve around immune-mediated toxicities. And so they uniquely cause sort of graft versus host disease type toxicity that can include colitis, pneumonitis, and sometimes hepatitis. Not so much in the form of reactivated hepatitis, viral hepatitis, but hepatitis as an inflammation of the liver. But two of those toxicities, the colitis and the pneumonitis, do raise concerns about the ability to administer these drugs for the long term. And one of the really important features in the management of indolent lymphoma, as I suggested at the outset, is that because these diseases are chronic, and because in some fraction of cases you can watch these patients with observation alone, it's really important, if not absolutely critical, that the drugs you think about for the disease be well tolerated, right? If we're trying to develop ways to manage these diseases that respects the indolent nature, finding drugs that are well tolerated and can be administered for protracted periods of time is really important. Now, Umbralisib, as you noted, was approved now just a couple of weeks ago for patients with marginal zone lymphoma and follicular lymphoma who have relapsed or refractory disease. And Umbralisib is a different kind of PI3 kinase inhibitor because it is a molecule that uniquely inhibits one of the four major isoforms of PI3 kinase, namely the delta isoform. And it also inhibits another very interesting kinase called casein kinase 1 or CK1 epsilon. Now, there are four major isoforms of PI3K, namely alpha, beta, gamma, delta. And most of the drugs that are available that are touted as PI3 kinase inhibitors are in essence pan PI3 kinase inhibitors, meaning they hit all those isoforms. And the two isoforms of particular relevance to hematologic malignancies are the gamma and delta isoforms. And we know that those two isoforms are prominently expressed in hematopoietic cells and cells of the immune system. And we also know that the gamma isoform plays an absolutely essential role as a switch in turning on and turning off the immune system, in changing the Th1 polarization of T cells and effector memory T cells. And so there is concern that the indiscriminate inhibition of all these isoforms may account for some of that, those toxicities of special interest, and in particular, the immune-mediated toxicities. So Umbralisib is unique in that it hits essentially only that delta isoform, which doesn't bring with it all of those other inadvertent impacts on the immune system. And the inhibition of CK1 is also interesting and potentially very complementary to the delta isoform inhibition, in that the CK1 inhibition is thought to influence the synthesis of a host of oncoproteins like MYC, BCL2, and cyclin D1. So inhibiting CK1 likely has a significant impact on inhibiting the synthesis of a whole variety of different oncogenic proteins.